front elevated split squat. I have a 6-inch box set up here. It certainly does not have to be this height. You can start with something as simple as 1 inch. Many gyms or facilities have those rubber mats that are about 1 inch. You can use change plates like 2.5s, 5s. You can use like a stepping stool, many options of step height. It depends on the intentionality of what we're trying to do. So just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of progressions and regressions within the movement. So with my left foot forward, the key here is to not get my feet too narrow. I want my feet to still stay hip width apart so I have stability. And I'm trying to keep my right glute turned on. I'm on my right toe. That's going to allow me to elongate the tissue on the front of my right hip while loading into hip flexion on the right, or on the left, and dorsiflexion on my left ankle. So we're trying to address 3 mobility issues or 3 mobility goals with this movement. So as I come down, I'm driving my knee over my toe, keeping my front heel on the ground, thinking about getting calf to hamstring, and keeping this glute turned on and my torso vertical. So there's my bottom position right there. My right knee is just now starting to touch the ground, and then I'm driving back out of it. You'll notice that it's not just a straight down motion. We can turn that into a lunge or a front foot elevated lunge where my shin, being my left shin, is staying relatively vertical as I come down. And then I'm essentially working on hip flexion on the left, hip extension on the right, not a lot of ankle stress being placed with that lunge variation. To make this easier, to make it easier in terms of getting into more hip flexion, you're going to elevate the box, right? So if I have a higher box, I'm going to be able to get into more hip flexion. If I want to be more aggressive, I would keep a 6-inch box and elevate my rear leg. Now, some of you are not going to have very good hip extension, so how do you know how wide your stance should be? Because obviously the further I get this leg back, the more hip extension I have to be able to access on the back leg, which could put more stress into the joint. If that hip doesn't move or allow you to get into that position, it can result in some low back irritability or maybe even some excessive irritability to the front of the hip. So listen to your body, look at your handout, follow your prescription guidelines for your sets, reps, and your setup. So when in doubt, start basic, let your body respond to the loading, and then progress from there. Again, most aggressive position being both feet elevated, so you have to go through extreme range of motion where you're really truly working